Hi, my name is Gage Green, and today I'll be giving my presentation on Edward Norton for my Theater 1 class at Old Dominion University. Let's begin, shall we? There they are. Alright, so why Ed Norton? Well, over the past 30 years, Ed has established himself as one of Hollywood's most passionate actors. However, there are those who see his passion as a desire for control. It can be argued that even if this is true, it is for the greater good, as there are far more successful films starring Ed Norton than box office flops. Ed is also critical in the roles he selects. He has been noted saying, "I didn't want to go into something feeling less than totally enthused about it just for the sake of getting paid." This is a quality of actors and creatives alike that I admire deeply. To care more for the role in the film itself than what one gains out of it shows a true commitment to the craft and a love not shared by many contemporaries. So, early life and education. So, on August 18th, 1969, in Boston, Massachusetts, Edward Norton was born into an affluent, activistic family. His father was an environmental attorney, and his mother was a high school English teacher. At the age of 5, Norton would see a rendition of If I Were a Princess, starring his babysitter, who would later become a Broadway actor. I'm blanking on her name right now. But from there on, he was immediately hooked on acting. His first performance was in Annie Get Your Gun at the age of 8. And apparently at that, he was said to have asked the director, "What is my objective in this scene?" 8-year-old. Interestingly enough, Norton never went to acting school. He attended Yale University and graduated in 1991 with a BA in history. Following graduation, Norton would spend the next 2 years in Osaka, Japan, working as a consultant for his grandfather's nonprofit, the Enterprise Foundation. Upon his return in 1994, Norton would begin looking for serious acting roles beyond college productions. Alright, so here we have Ed versus Tony K., also known as the Battle for a Better American History X. Tony, you did a good job, but anyways, riding the success of Primal Fear and The People vs. Larry Flint, Ed would fiercely assert himself as one of the pinnacles of acting of the 1990s early on and only continued to deliver. His next film would be one of his most famous, American History X, the directorial debut of Tony K. It was during the post-production where Tony would learn of Ed's ability to give a film direction. New Line Cinema was unhappy with the cut produced by K and would have Ed assist him in the editing room. Norton would ultimately end up adding 18 minutes of film, to the complete dismay of K. K would denounce the film in New Line Cinema, filing a $275 million lawsuit against NLC against the usage of his name in the film credits. And so he was trying to be smart and put, like Alan Smithy and Humpty Dumpty. But with time and a cooler head, K would let his ego go, and he said that he has been apologizing to anyone that he may have angered on the set during that time. He's a very eccentric man, and I definitely do respect his work. For having your first film be American History X, that's a damn accomplishment. You got a little spinny guy down there for you. So anyway, segueing. You may be asking yourself, okay, so the guy clearly has writing experience, but a quick look at his IMDb page shows that he has a grand total of 1 writing credit. I can speak English. And it was for adapting a novel into a screenplay, that being Motherless Brooklyn, which was also his second directing credit after his directorial debut in 2000 with Keeping the Faith with him and Ben Stiller. Ed has given advice and assisted the production to almost every film he has starred in, all at his own discretion. On the set of The Incredible Hulk, again, I can speak English well, co-star Tim Ross stated while working on set he wouldn't bother reading the screenplay till he was in the makeup chair, as Norton would make almost daily rewrites. With this being one of Ed's biggest passion projects at the time, it makes sense. And according to IMDb, Ed rewrote the entire script to Frida, pretty much uncredited. Yes. Yes, Ed, that is true. Alright, so here we go. Let's talk about Fight Club now. Fight Club, badass movie. Yeah, Fight Club. Okay, so, about midway through Fight Club, Tyler and Jack, I say Jack, if you've seen the movie, you know. Jack needs access to a constant cash flow to fund their operations. This leads to Ed confronting his boss, hinting at becoming a whistleblower. He works for a car safety firm, I believe it is. And he has to be kept on the payroll as an outside consultant unless he, is like, well, if you don't want, like, all these people knowing that they're gonna die, give me money. When it is obvious that this is an insane proposal, his boss calls security, prompting Jack's hand to shake violently, and he begins to punch himself in the face. Ed would proceed to act out a fight between him and his boss, featuring only himself, and threw himself into a glass table, to which Brad Pitt said that he took it like a champ. Ed himself would compare his performance to Jerry Lewis and Harold Lloyd, more specifically as he would lift himself up with his shirt, comparing that to some of Lloyd's more vaudevillian performances. And also in the commentary, Ed said that this punch in particular was a good one. He would also comment on the commentary, that Fight Club is one of the only films that he could rewatch on the account of how much there is to look at in the film. And yeah, that's true. Yeah. Moving on. Ed versus David Fincher. Ooh, we weren't expecting this one. Okay, so not nearly as bad as Ed versus Tony, but I need another example. So here we go. In an article by The Ringer, it was said that David and Ed were butting heads all throughout filming, debating on the tone of the film. Ed saw Fight Club as being more tongue-in-cheek. He wanted the audience to say, okay, yeah, these guys aren't actually telling us to blow up entire city blocks and credit card firms and beat up any guy who looks at you funny. But then David was committed to having the film being, well, not maybe extremely demented, but he did want the audience to question if they were actually condoning this or not. The two would argue on set in between takes, sometime resulting in the rest of the cast to stare at the floor for upwards of half an hour. Interesting. But it wasn't until filming one of the mundane office scenes where Ed saw what David was going for, and David was then quoted saying, "A little less Jerry, a little more Dean," in reference to the comedy duo Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. Oh, that's so sweet, you guys. Wow. So over the past 30 years, Ed has cemented himself into Hollywood's history as one of its most capable actors and writers. While he has been slowing down on taking roles, his most frequent appearances in films today are from a multitude of Wes Anderson movies. It does not take away from the monumental career he had in the 90s and 2000s. While there are directors out there who have deemed working with Ed difficult, more times than not, his ability to revise and write a script and guide a film's direction has led to some of the most iconic films of the last generation. Yes, Fight Club was a flop, but it fucking earned its place in history, okay? Excuse me. Ed has the life his fellow actors and just about anyone can dream of. Being in complete control of your destiny. And with that, that's pretty much the conclusion to this presentation, but here's my bibliography. So, and for quick reference, I did watch Filmstack's video, When an Actor is Too Passionate, and while I did enjoy the video, I didn't try to take any information specifically from it. I wasn't trying to, I wanted to be my own. And so while there is similarities, I wasn't trying to straight up plagiarize his script. Just a little disclaimer. It's a very good video, and I do definitely recommend watching it. It's very in-depth, and he does a lot of good research on it. But anyways, this has been my presentation on Ed Norton. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed. I may not be the greatest speaker in the world, but by damned I got through it, and that is what matters. Good night, and thank you again.